Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing alakhine101 in the 15-minute pool on ICC. This is a player I've lost to previously, so I'm up for revenge. We'll see how it goes. Their rating is higher than when I played them last time. I think it was maybe mid 2100s when we last battled. We'll see what we get against them this time. We had a really weird English in the previous game, and I did not come out of the opening in good shape. Let's put it that way. My read on this player is that they're kind of tricky, tactical. They have an offbeat style. So I'm just going to play my mainline stuff and see what happens, basically. Hopefully they make a move. Let me just check his stats, see if he's like idling or something. No, he's not idling. Finally made a move. Okay, so we're going to have a Queen's Gambit. Queen's Gambit accepted. I like playing Knight f3 here. It just rules out e5. Not a big fan of the sharper move e4. So he plays Knight f6 in reply. I'll go e3. Trying to recover the pawn. e6, yep, standard. We'll take this. c5 would be normal. Let's castle now. Been a while since I had like a orthodox Queen's Gambit accepted like this. So a6, they're trying to go b5. In the past, I played bishop b3 here. Knight c3 is also fine. Let's play bishop b3, though. This move is dynamic if white wants it to be. So the main line goes b5 and then a4. And you immediately try to undermine black's pawn chain on the queen side. They don't have to play b5. They can play something like knight c6 if they want. If knight c6, I'll probably play rook, queen e2, intending rook d1 on the next move. Maybe I can build the time edge in the opening, because last time they really pressured me on the clock. Yeah, knight c6. Okay, so queen e2, and then if take rook d1 is the usual way to go. Taking on c5 is a pretty boring choice because the queen swap shouldn't be a danger to black. So let's play it in more enterprising fashion, shall we? This is reminiscent of a Slav as well. In some of the main lines of the Slav, white plays queen e2 and makes way for the rook to come to d1. And especially with the x-ray we would have on black's queen, that would be a useful thing to achieve. Well, they're certainly thinking in the opening a lot more than last time. Last time they were just blitzing moves out. Queen c7, okay. So they declined to capture on d4. Now, I would not want to capture on c5 if it means that they can just capture in one fell swoop with the bishop. So I'd prefer to play a move like rook d1 or knight c3, and then decide if I want to take on c5. And I might not take on c5 at all, but that's what I'd be going for. So which move is better? Kind of think knight c3, but I'm not positive. Well, let's not dilly-dally too much. We'll just make a decision and go with it. The difference could be minor, if anything. So bishop d6. So now if I want to take on c5, I can play that. So let's say take. He takes with the bishop. E4 would be a typical follow-up, trying to get the bishop out somewhere more active. But you got to be kind of careful of like knight to g4 and knight d4 ideas, like fishing pole ideas with mates on h2 in that case. So I think I'm going to play rook d1 instead, just as a way to lend some more support to the d4 square. Maybe I want to be able to take, like say they castle, and then I take and bishop takes, and maybe now e4. This could be a better version. think that's probably what I'll do. Because I want to push e4 and get this dark square bishop out, but I don't want to do it when they can just take on d4. I want to do it on our terms. So yeah, let's play this. The only thing is, can they play after e4, knight g4? Yeah, that attacks f2, and then they have that same knight d4 trick. So maybe I need like h3 first. I might need to do that to begin with. e4, knight g4, rook f1 would run into knight d4. And that's that trick I mentioned. If knight takes, queen takes h2 mate. I could play bishop d2 right now, but that's pretty lame. Bishop d2 intending bishop e1. Let's just do this. I saw a video of Chess Explained recently, Christoph, and he mentioned something that I identify with. He said, as a d4 player, he doesn't really pay attention to the queen's gambit so much. He was playing a line that was pretty sedate. I think it was like a line where the queens get traded early on. And he was very open about his lack of preparation in that line, and I totally identify with that. The Queen's Gambit Accepted is not a line I think many d4 players really spend much time on. Hence, I think it's an underrated line. You know, other d4, d5 lines like the Slav, Semi-Slav, Queen's Gambit Decline get way more attention because they're just played more often. But the Queen's Gambit Accepted, for whatever reason, just isn't a very, I don't know, popular line whatsoever. It's never been particularly fashionable. You can only find like a few top guys who play it routinely. I know like Sergei Karyakin was one dude who used to play it quite a bit. I don't think he plays it so much anymore. Not that bad of a line at all. I mean, black gives up the center temporarily, but it takes a while for white to recover the pawn, and they usually have to make some sort of concession in doing so. I think one reason why you don't see the opening played often is because, in my opinion, there's not that many resources out there for an aspiring Queen's Gambit Accepted player. Like off the top of my head, I don't know of any books that are like good, solid, recent repertoire books on it. So that might have something to do with it. If you're trying to adopt this opening, you're probably doing a lot of your own research. So e5, so they're trying to get their light square bishop out. If I play e4, they can jump into the d4 square. So maybe I should not play that, but is that really that bad? Like e4, knight d4, knight takes. If they take with the pawn, I have knight d5. I might be like marginally better there. Hard to say. What if e4, knight d4, knight takes d4, e takes d4, e5? Can maybe go rook e8 and pin me? If not e4, I could play bishop d2 and let them play e4, but knight g5, queen e5. I don't like that. My knight is stranded. So e4, knight d4, knight takes, pawn takes, knight d5, knight takes. Let's say bishop takes, bishop e6 maybe. It's not much of anything for me. It just might be the best choice, though. Otherwise, it's hard to develop my position. Knight d5 immediately, they take. Bishop takes. Yeah, not in love with that position. Knight d5, knight takes, maybe rook takes? Okay, I'm going to play e4. We'll see if they jump in with the knight. I think they should. Otherwise, I get a chance to play like bishop e3 or maybe bishop g5. I gotta take that knight. I'm not gonna play a move like queen f3, queen d3 or something like that. Okay, so now knight d5, they take. I take with the bishop probably. That's what I was looking at earlier. Is knight a4 at all decent? They play bishop a7 and they'd be immediately threatening b5. So I would tentatively say no. That's not a good idea. Okay, let's play knight d5. If they take, I'll probably just take with a bishop. Yeah. Not block. My bishop's diagonal, but this bishop e6 move, I don't know. They have an isolated d-pawn. If I can somehow surround this pawn, I can maybe claim that I have like a pawn island advantage. Maybe even bishop back to b3 now. Is that so bad? Probably not. They don't really want to take and strengthen their structure. So yeah, let's bring the bishop back. See if we can get them to trade on our terms. This guy being a tricky player, I really want to avoid time pressure, especially against him. I mean, time pressure against anyone is bad, but against a tricky player, you're just asking for trouble. So that's why I'm not like losing sleep over potentially just being in an equal position. If anything, I want to deaden the play and not give him a chance to complicate. So one thing I can do is try to blockade the d3 square by putting a rook there. He's rook a e8, so maybe he's going after e4 in some fashion. Perhaps queen f3? Need to get my dark square bishop out. So queen f3, idea bishop f4. Makes sense. Queen d3 as well. Maybe queen d3 is safer. The queen is not the best blockader, but might be all right. Yeah, let's do it. Queen d3. Pre-move this capture just in case he does it. Could he trade and then play queen e7 going after the e-pawn? Maybe. I have rook e1 if I need it. Rook e1, f5, e5. For now, I just want to complete my development. It's my only motivation. Maybe he can take and then play queen e5. Rook e1 again, f5. Just trying to think of like hyper-aggressive ways he can challenge me. Maybe I have f4 then. And if he takes on e4, I have queen c4 check. So that line again, if you didn't catch it, bishop takes b3, a takes b3, queen e5, rook e1, f5, trying to exploit the e-file pin. F4, f takes e4, trying to counterattack my queen, queen c4 check. And if he moves his king, I take his queen. If you were to block with the queen, I could take on c5. That's just a fantasy variation, but it might hold some relevance. If he plays queen e5 before exchanging on b3, well, then f4 is even stronger. There's no attack on e4. There's no battery yet. So about 8 minutes and change each. I like where this is heading time-wise. He might be looking at ways to blast through, because if he has something direct, it's probably right on this move, before I can play bishop d2 and have my rooks connected and my back rank completely secure. So he might just be looking for ways to, just bust it open, like f5 in some lines, things like that. I think my position's a little bit too solid to be taken like that, though. That e4 pawn is a weakness, though, and it stands out. Also, he'd love to shift my queen from d3, so he can play d3 and hopefully create tactical threats. because this is a pass pawn, but if it sticks around on d4 too long and just gets blockaded, it's just going to be a weakness. So he does play queen e5. Rook e1, I'm thinking. So f3, he has f5. Not sure how good that is for me. So rook e1 would be the better way to keep it together if it works. Yeah, let's do that. So maybe this line will come to fruition, as I was alluding to earlier. f5, f4. I mean, he can back his queen off then. It's not like a disaster for him or anything, but the fact that f4 is playable there is crucial for me. Because I think if I had to respond to f5 with f3, it wouldn't be quite as good. I like that I can back him off entirely. I wonder if I even have some funky ideas, like say f5, queen check, king h8, like rook a5. He has b5, I suppose. Just thinking of ways to like x-ray the bishop to his queen. Building a small time advantage and creeping closer to that 5-minute cutoff. So let's say f5, f4, queen d6 probably. I give a check, king h8, e5. I would play that. He has d3 check, but big deal. I can even block with my bishop there. His queen would be under attack. Queen b6, bishop takes c5, queen takes c5. Or actually, queen b6, take on d3 maybe. g5, wow. That's extreme. So he's trying to prevent f4 in a pretty provocative way. That's a gutsy move. Well, first instinct is just play bishop d2 and be solid. I mean, he's taking a lot of liberties with his king safety and playing that move. I'm not going to overreact and play g4, like trying to prevent f5. So first of all, I don't even think it would prevent it. g4, f5 take, rook takes. Yeah, let's just... If you really want to play f5, you can go ahead and do it. I don't know if he's playing that so much to play f5 as he is to just prevent me from playing f4. I mean, f5 would be a natural follow-up here, to be sure, but maybe that's not his primary motivation. Now, if f5, can I like play rook a5? I still like the rook a5 move. It's looking pretty good right now. I might do it. Rook a5, probably queen c7. Queen c4. Yeah, I like it. Maybe like later on the rook can swing over to f5. Something like that. Keeps the pressure on. It's visually appealing. And he's below 5 minutes. Queen e7, okay. So if queen c4, probably rook c8, I would guess. Maybe h4. Then if take, I can take on h6. Bishop b4, rook g5 check. That ought to be good for me. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, maybe h4. h4, f5 could be played. I take them. That's no good for them. Let's do this. One nice point is that if f6, I just win after queen c4, winning a piece. So he can't really play f6 to like keep his structure together or anything. Like I said, I mean, this g5 pawn, It's becoming a weakness, and he was exposing his king in doing so. So I want to start poking and prodding around. My h-pawn wasn't really doing much, so let's send it up and attack. I think this is an unpleasant move for him to have to deal with. I might even have some simple ideas like taking and then playing the queen over to g3, or taking, maybe even taking with the bishop, queen takes, and then like b4. He's pinned along the 5th rank. Yeah, f5 is not dangerous, so he doesn't have a lot of aggressive moves he can play now. This is looking up, looking promising. He might play a move like king g7, maybe to enable a rook h8 move. But whatever he plays is going to require some precision right now. And maybe I'll just do that straightforward double capture and then b4, because I think it works tactically. I don't see why it wouldn't. Okay, so he's hanging a6. Just trying to simplify or something. Let's just take that. If he takes, I still take h6. Just kind of bailing out now, or trying to. Can I just take and let him have the a file, and then look to play elsewhere? He might be reckoning that my b pawns diminish the value of having an extra pawn. He might be right about that. So if I take, he takes, maybe queen over to g3. Or take first and then queen g3. I like the look of that. Then if f6, e5. Let's do that. Now I'm going to play this real quick. And then bring the queen over to g3. So rapid fire. Usually I'm not in favor of like playing quick moves when your opponent's in time pressure. But an exception is if you can like reel off a string that you calculated like that, that puts them under pressure. And if you're absolutely sure that that sequence of moves is not losing anything for you, not disadvantageous, then you should go for it. Because it's a good way to make them think constantly. You're just rapid firing your responses. But don't do that too much. Like just do it for short bursts, like 2-3 moves. And it works best if the lines are semi-forced. Okay, so now I was thinking e5 to break up his pawns. f4 also looks possible. But f4, I'm opening myself up for d3 stuff. So this is the main move I was considering. It just looks so natural. My rook's behind the e-pawn. How's he going to deal with this? He can go queen c7, maybe trying after takes to swap the queens. Queen c7, I can play like queen g4, though. Avoid a trade. So maybe b4 comes in handy somewhere. Okay, so if I take here, he takes with the queen, I take on g5. Looks good. Also, what about take, queen takes, rook e5? That was also looking crushing. Take, queen takes, rook e5. There's nothing on f2 to worry about. Yeah, this has got to be good. Rook e5, bishop d6, we take. Nothing doing there for him. I think that's better than taking on g5 automatically. If I took with a bishop, he could just do like, you know, queen g6 or something. Okay, so he's trying to open d3 up. If take, he's going to go king f7. This must be losing for him.
Check.
Okay, so now rook g4 I was considering. Simple move. Bishop c3 might be good too. Queen c7 he can block with his queen. Rook g4 is the easiest. Just preparing rook f4, basically. There's nothing on f2, right? Like, you can't just like take on f2 multiple times. Yeah, that's not going to fly. You can take on b2. Might check here. It's just got to be winning. Let's think. We've got the time. If bishop c3, they have d2 maybe. This is kind of a silly thing to worry about, though. I think rook g4 is the easiest right here. Let's do that. Keep a slim time advantage. I mean, they might just like go for it with queen takes b2. Who knows? They don't really have any other good moves. Rook f4 is a huge threat. They're going to run with their king. Check on e4 now. Rook g6, they have bishop takes f2. But that wins for me. Rook g6, bishop takes f2, queen takes g6, queen takes f8. That's a win. Just make sure I'm not miscalculating that. Rook g6, bishop takes f2, queen takes f2. They're pinned. So queen takes g6, queen takes f8. Looks decisive. Must be.
Check.
Yeah, this is over. And if they try to come in with their queen, they're going to lose. Let's give a check here. I mean, there might have been other ways to win that, but this one just looks so simple and good. Okay, now I can just do queen g5 if I want to get the queens off entirely. Queen g5, take, take. They have king b4. The end. I don't think I have to even allow that. Let's just go here. I can even walk my king over. I just would prefer to avoid giving them any sort of counterplay. If check, king e1.
Check.
And they kind of have to stay tethered to the defensive d3. So nothing ever really works out too well for them. Just defend everything. King d2 coming next. Just winning the d3 pawn. Take queen f2. That's fine.
Check.
March our king to safety.
Check. Check.
King will be nice and snug over here. Let's give a check on e5. Force their queen somewhere awkward first. And I can look for ways to trade the queens.
Check. Check.
Just check them around a little bit.
check,
Check them out in the open.
check,
Yeah, this is mate.
checkmate,
Okay. Yeah, I think we found a good way to simplify at the end. I think they overreached, really, with the g5 move especially. Up till that point, I think it was pretty balanced. I have the double isolated b pawns, but otherwise my position's solid, and I don't see a way that they can exploit their slight lead in development right now. Let's go back and have a look. Let me start up the engine. So the Queen's Gambit accepted, an underrated weapon. This is one of the main lines. c5, castle, a6, and then bishop back to b3. So if they play b5, then this undermining move a4 comes. And then here, and I believe the move is knight bd2, intending to play e4. My knowledge of that line is a little sparse. I'm not going to lie. But I know some ideas. So here, queen e2. And if they take, I was going to play rook d1, trying to recover the pawn. It's dangerous for black to try to hold on to that pawn, like say bishop c5, I take. Let's say they take with a knight. Take, bishop e3, white wins material. If black tries to defend like that, we take and they're pinned. They can't recover the piece. So that's no good. So queen c7, I played knight c3, bishop d6, rook d1, castles, take on c5 now. Yeah, so if I play e4 right here, I think it's bad because of knight g4. Attacking f2, bishop and knight are coordinating on that square. And if rook f1, then I get hit with this move. Got to remember this idea. This happens in the Queen's Gambit accepted. Also happens in some Sicilians. It's the classic fishing pole. So attacking my queen and trying to deflect the knight away from guarding h2. Black wins. If the queen moves, take on f3.
check,
Mate next move. So got to avoid that. So that's why I played h3. It's a little bit, seems a little bit passive. Probably bishop d2 is a better idea. Maybe just trying to go rook c1 with discoveries on that bishop. But I was intent on still trying to get e4 in and maybe hoping for a better future for this dark square bishop. He played e5. I went e4. Maybe that's a mistake too. Computer thinks queen c2 is good. Not a move I considered. I guess trying to control the e4 square. Knight b4, queen back to b1. This looks awkward, but the engine likes it for white. Yeah, maybe. Could be better. I played e4, knight d4, take. Pawn takes. If bishop takes, I would have played bishop g5 and gone for an attack, tried to take here. If takes, I guess I could even play rook ac1. I don't even have to take back on c3 right away. I can try to take with a rook instead. Looks good for white. So you took with the pawn, knight d5, take, bishop takes, bishop here. Now I went bishop back. Ooh, it really dislikes that move. It says I should play b4, aggressive. Take, and then try to take that pawn. And bishop c3 is not working because of rook c4, and I defend. Ugh, yeah, b4, not a move I thought about. Why does it hate this move so much? Bishop takes b3, a takes b3, bishop b6, bishop d2, queen into c2. And if I play like this, just rook a c8. Okay, so it really wants to sink that queen into c2. Attacking the queen, attacking these pawns. That is not obvious at all. Yeah, I mean, I do have trouble covering that c2 square, and I'm behind in development. So like I said, if black is going to get something, it's probably right on this move, like right around here. Move 16, 17, 18, somewhere in that vicinity. So it seems like e4 could be a mistake, and maybe the bishop b3 move. Well, not maybe. It looks like bishop b3 is a mistake too. So we drop this back. He played rook a e8. Looks like a natural move. Queen d2. Take. So the computer just wants to play rook e6, double up on the e-file. Maybe leave the rook open for a swinger over to g6 to attack my king. Went here. I played rook e1. Yeah, so I was looking at f5 and then f4. And it's a crucial detail that if takes, I can play queen
check,
c4 check and I win a piece. That's absolutely crucial. Queen e6 take. Otherwise, they might have something direct. You know, f5 is probably the move that black wants to play. It's perfectly in line with their other rook staying on the f-file. It looks like it's a good way to exploit the undefended rook here, but it's nice that I have this. Still, they maybe should have gone for this. Queen e6 or something, and just play this position. It perhaps is not so good for me to have a protected pass pawn. This on a dark square, it like locks in my bishop a little bit. Also, d5 is weak. But he played g5. I really dislike that move. Maybe the engine doesn't think it's so bad. It just seems excessively risky to me. It's probably a move he has to follow up pretty precisely if he wants to make it work. He plays h6. I went rook a5. Okay, so this seems like a good idea. Now I'm threatening b4. Queen back to e7. Yep, and that's probing move h4. So I like how my play came together on the wings. Like once I solidified the center, I started attacking on either wing. Rook a5, h4. Yeah, it's hard for him. b6 he played. Might just not be that good of a move available because he can't move this pawn. I take on h6 if he does that. According to the engine, rook a8 is the best move. That's weird. Take. Rook ea1. Pretty sure I wouldn't double up on the a file. I'd be going after his king, something like that. f6, e5, try to do something similar to the game. Maybe he can do something, but I mean, the engine indicates an advantage for white. It just optically looks great for me. So I'd love to play this. This is like the game, except that there's one more pair of rooks on the board, and I haven't won his a6 pawn yet. So h4, he played b6, I took. The time situation was promising for me as well. So like I said, if you're going to try to blitz out a sequence in your opponent's time pressure, make sure it's a sequence that you know is not going to get you in trouble. And it should be a shortish sequence as a result. If it's a longer sequence than like 2, 3, 4 moves, you really got to make sure that you've calculated everything accurately. And the value of doing this, like you can see that, I took a8, took g5, and queen g3. That cost me like 1 second. Those couple moves. But the value of that is like you're not giving them any time to reflect on your time. You're throwing it back at them, throwing the move back, say, you think. e5, and it just felt like I was winning in this position. So if I take with a rook, does he have like rook a1?
Check.
And then queen h7 or something? Yeah,
check.
I guess bishop d6 at the end. I don't know if I saw this line, but I knew that if it takes, I could always take on g5 first. Probably this is what he should do, though, because I think the way he played it in the game, like rook f8, must lose. Take. B4 is good, huh? Because after bishop takes, well, I thought I was going to be taking here, which, yeah, also seems to win, but there's also queen b3 check.
Check.
Pick up the bishop. So that was a real easy way to get the job done. That'd be nice, too. It makes use of my double isolated b pawn as well. But I took, deflecting his queen, rook e5, d3, just trying to open lines. Yeah, there must be several good moves here. I played rook g4. I thought he would go queen takes b2, and I knew there had to be a win. It was just a question of would I be able to find it in time. Queen check, king e6. His king is way out in the middle of nowhere. Queen c6. Yeah, this should be over.
Check. Checkmate.
Yeah, so that's not going to work for him. So he played instead king e6, but now rook g6. Yeah. Again, there might have been other ways to play it, but I just saw this line. Like, I knew after rook g6, he's got to take on f2. We take back. He has to take on g6. We take on f8. And if you know you're in a winning position, especially if time is a factor, you just got to go with the simplest win. I said this in a video a couple days ago, but it's very important. It's worth repeating. Don't make it harder on yourself than it has to be. If you see a line that you know wins, don't worry about the length of it. Don't worry like how it looks. Just do it. Yeah. Now, just got to avoid getting flagged.
Checkmate.
And you got the mate at the end. Okay, so this game went a lot better than the previous game against this opponent. So I think it played to my advantage, keeping it kind of like in a position where he didn't have so many concrete tactical threats. The opening theoretically went fine for black. I mean, he was doing absolutely fine. Right about until the time he played g5, I think. Even if that move itself isn't that bad. I think the concept is pretty risky in practice. Meanwhile, I have everything defended. It seems easier to play white after g5. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I'll be back tomorrow with another 15-minute game. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.